All right, what's up, people? We
All
are
right.
here. All right, we're here for One Sports World Network. Make sure you hit that like, that subscribe, the notification bell. Make sure you share because sharing is caring. Make sure you do that. We are on 411 Sports World Network on YouTube. That is 411 Sports World Network on YouTube. Today is November the 13th, 2024. Yes, this is War Machine. All right, on the 411 Sports World Network. We have Hot Tub Tony in the building tonight. And also, we have the Freedom Warrior in the house. And both gentlemen are here to discuss the president-elect Donald Trump, what's next for him, and also what's next for the Democratic Party. So basically, just going to go through all those things. They're going to go back and forth and talk about different issues there. Want to say also to both gentlemen on here, and including everybody else who is a veteran, happy belated Veterans Day for those. And we definitely want to tip our cap to all those who served for this great country of ours, including these two gentlemen right here. Couple more pieces of business before we get rolling. On Instagram, make sure you type in Mr. 401 or scan that QR code. Help us with that. We definitely appreciate it. Also on TikTok, please do the same thing, Mr. 411, or scan the QR code. All right, gentlemen, we here. All right, so the election is I guess it's over, or it's supposed to be officially over. But we know who's the winner, which is President-elect Donald Trump. So therefore, we are going to have the fallout of what happened with Democratic Party in this particular race. What's next for the Democratic Party? What's next for the Republican Party? What's next for this country? So I know you guys are going to been chomping at the bit to kind of go over all these things. So I'm going to I guess we're gonna start off with Freedom Warrior. We start there, and then let's start talking about all these topics that you guys want to cover. Here we go. All right, can you hear us, Freedom Warrior? All right, we'll start with Hot Tub.
Well, the elections is finally over officially. 312 to what? 226, almost 100-point difference. I mean, this was a landslide. Nobody saw this coming, and everybody saw this coming at the
I don't want to
same time.
interrupt, but are we having some transmission issues?
Well, we couldn't hear you.
You ready to jump in, Freedom Warrior?
He's getting he's got some connection issues. You could just keep rolling
Okay.
until
So
he gets connected.
so from what I gather out this, the Democrats got a lot of reflection to do. Looking at where they're going to go as a party and what's their identity going to be. Are they going to double down on their failed policies of the last 4 years, or are they going to have a come to Jesus moment and finally start listening to their constituency, who have overwhelmingly turned their backs on their policies? So, from my point of view, from what I'm seeing so far, um, it's a lot more of the same. A lot of infighting going on that side. On the opposite side of the spectrum, Donald Trump done made some moves already, and he already ruffling up some feathers. Uh, Made some very positive moves and some very questionable moves in the last 48 hours. Most of which I will say, from my point of view, is positive. Uh, One or two negatives that I see out of it: the appointment of Matt Gaetz as Secretary. I think it was Secretary General, if I'm not mistaken.
Secretary of Defense.
Secretary of Secretary of Defense, and that's
Right.
that's that could be problematic, but we'll see where it goes.
Well, can you hear me?
We hear you good.
Okay, great. Yeah. Matt Gates, in his personal life, he had some issues, and there were some ethics investigations into him and um, his activities outside of his appointment into Congress. But as I said earlier, too, I mean, how many congressmen and or congresswomen too don't have like skeletons in their closet too? And I pointed out Menendez, for example, from New Jersey. dead man
All right, hot
walking, and
tub.
they kept holding him up. But when it comes to Republicans, the Democrats have no mercy, man. They they take him straight to the guillotine. But in this instance, I think Matt Gaetz, he's going to have to go through confirmation. It's going to be reminiscent of what happened to Clarence Thomas when he went through. I mean, they're gonna run him through the mill, man.
Well, with them
But the
not
other appointments,
with them not
I don't
controlling
have a problem with the other appointments, though.
I don't think he's gonna.
Go ahead.
I don't think he's gonna have a problem getting confirmed. I mean, they're looking at possible Republican House and Senate, so Democrats gonna be hard pressed to stop any confirmations.
Well, you got some Republicans that don't favor that recommendation from Trump on him. I mean, Rubio, he's golden, he's good. All the rest of them, I think, are gonna pass. But Matt Gaetz, I mean, he by far is the most controversial. You know, now Keith Hetzeg, they try to just play him up as a talk show host from Fox, but actually, the man has a much deeper resume. You know, so we'll see.
All right, we got
Oh,
Coy in the building. He's saying what? Coy, Calvin McCoy, aka Coy. He's in the building. What's up, Coy? He has a question out there for you gentlemen. What he says? What is the allegations?
Tony, you want to take it or you want me to take it?
Go ahead and take it.
Okay, the allegation is that he was allegedly involved in some type of sex ring, or thing that was going on. Now, I don't know any of that to be true. It's supposedly under investigation. Then there was one issue too that involved some sexual misconduct. That particular investigation was a new one emerged, so it's still currently under investigation, as far as I know.
And like you said, everything is alleged at this point in time. The investigation into Matt
Did we get that?
hadn't played out.
Yeah,
Did we get it?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we heard you. Look, just to make sure we all understand right now, there's a little bit of a delay in there, on your end, Freedom Warrior, but we do hear you. So it does kind of
Okay.
break up every now and then, and then you pop back good. So
Okay.
you might not hear us, but
Okay.
we're good. So we might chop up on each other a little
But
bit
as
here
I
till we get it all
mentioned, he was
sorted.
involved in some type of sex ring operation.
Okay, and I think Hot Tub was going to come in with something there.
Yeah, I was just to piggyback off that. This is the investigation into Matt Gaetz is still ongoing. It hadn't played out yet, but I doubt that will stop his confirmation with the makeup of the House and the Senate at this going into this new year. So it's one of those things we're gonna see how this plays out.
All right, y'all see the comment there with Coy?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it was with minors. Yeah. And that, like I say, that is a problematic appointment. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that at all. But
Yeah, but the man's not guilty, and I mean, he's innocent until proven guilty on this issue, and it's just an ethics committee. They're the ones who investigate, and they haven't really come up with any findings
well,
to support the charges.
From my point of view, with it, you have this has been ongoing for a while with Matt Gaetz.
Mm-hmm.
Democrats 4 years to bring if you're gonna press any charges on him or try to get him out of Congress, you have 4 years to do it. You sat on to use it as a wedge issue on the election. Now you've pretty much lost that window of opportunity to get him out of Congress, so that this won't happen.
Why didn't they do it? Why didn't they do it within those 4 years? Why didn't they push on it?
Because they probably don't have all the evidence to prove it. I mean, if you're going to bring those kind of charges down on somebody, you better have all your, you better have the evidence. It better be airtight. And I don't think they had it. I think that they went after him because Mac is a very strong Trump supporter, and as it was over the last 4 years, the DOJ, even before that, with Comey being in charge, the FBI and the CIA and all these guys, they were going after Trump and everybody in Trump's orbit, and Gates was orbit, and they just came after him. It's what they call now lawfare, and that seems to be the issue in Washington D.C. That's why Trump cleaned it up. So tonight we're going to talk about what Trump's priorities are.
And that's a pretty good segue into it. So he's made some big moves within the past 48 hours. He hit the ground running and hadn't even stepped foot into office yet. One of those moves is his stance on immigration. As it stands right now, he has the former director of ICE that's going to be appointed as his border czar. And yeah, his policy. Some would say his policies for immigration are extreme. I say they right on par. One of the big issues that Trump did bring up was that he's through executive order, he's going to do away with birthright citizenship, meaning that families won't be broken up at the border when they're deported. No, they're going to keep the families together this time. You're not going to be able to use the children as anchor babies to keep you into the United States. So it's good. You pretty much getting processed out, and to a certain degree, well, not to a certain degree, I agree with that. That's a move that I agree with totally. I think if we're going to, they're going to have a constitutional convention on that, because you're going up against the 13th, 14th Amendment by doing away with birthright citizenship. But if they have a process to where the families can be naturalized over time, then that's fair. But keeping you here just because you had a baby here, that's been a tactic by illegal immigrants now for decades. That's been a huge problem, and nobody's been willing.
Yeah, they call them anchor babies.
Anchor babies. That's correct.
Yeah, they come here, have a baby. Oh, we can't go. My baby's a U.S. citizen. He was born here. You know, but Mr. Holman, and I guy for that job. I mean, this man is no mercy, no hold. He's no hold. Holman. He said he's going to round them up and he's going to get them out of here. Now, the only problem is some of these countries don't want to take them back. Hot tub, they don't want them.
That's not our problem. That is not our problem. Our only
so that's going to be the.
Oh, hold on. Hey, Mr. Freedom Warrior, your it's a connection issue right now. I'll tell you, you may have to hold the fort down until he gets back in there.
Not a problem. I don't, like I say, I don't see an issue with that. If your country of origin won't take you back, largely that's because their country of origin, Venezuela in particular, has been dumping their mentally ill and their prison population off on the United States. This is why we're seeing a proliferation of Venezuelan gangs throughout the United States. So them saying we're not going to take our citizens back, that's not our problem. Dump them off right there at the border. They cross through Mexico. Mexico, that's your problem now. Whatever you do with them from here, that's your business. They shouldn't have been allowed to cross your borders into our country. And I've seen that Mexico.
But Trump's is coming from a lot of these sanctuary city mayors and governors of sanctuary, so-called governors that have sanctuary cities. They're saying that they're going to protect these undocumented immigrants, that they're not going to allow even their law enforcement to.
I kind of
All
got
right, so I'm gonna work on that connection.
I kind
Yeah,
of
I'm gonna
got
work
what you.
on that connection. Okay.
No problem. I hold it down.
Might end up being a bit of a conference.
So I kind of got the gist of what you're saying, Freedom Warrior. I get what they're saying as with the Democratic city mayors and governors, but guess what?
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to last because they're up for reelect. A lot of them were up for reelection in 2 years. So as if this
Mm-hmm.
policy remains as popular as it is now, their whole campaign is going to be hedging on whether the voters think that that's a strategy that they want to get behind. And right now, overwhelmingly, what I'm seeing, nope, it's immigration.
Well, look at Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago. You know, he got out there today. He's using black people now as a defense to keep the illegal immigrants in Chicago. He's trying to say that Trump not only wants to deport, and this is, to me, this is idiocy, it's nonsense. He doesn't just want to deport illegal immigrants. He wants to deport black people too. I
That
mean, that to me is just, that's nonsense, and it's shameless for him to use black people now to try to defend illegal immigrants.
that talking point that the Democrats use that we can somehow be deported. Deported where? We're from here. We've been here over 500 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can't deport us back to anywhere. There is no single country that we all
Mm-hmm.
originated from that we can be sent back to. We are American citizens. We have been here since the founding of America. Before America was a country, when it was still colonies, we were here. So you can't
Mm-hmm.
deport us. So that talking point is asinine. That's fear tactics.
Yeah, that's what it is, fear mongering, and also trying to tap into the emotions of the black population. You know, well, uh, if they gonna put these illegal immigrants out here, maybe they gonna send us too. And this is what he's saying. Just like, let's go back to Biden. Remember Biden back in the day? They gonna put y'all back in chains.
Mm-hmm. I've been
You remember
hearing
that
that talk.
line?
I've been hearing talking point so much. Try it.
Yeah.
Try it. That's all I will say. We have a Second Amendment right for this very purpose. So try it and see
Yeah.
how it goes for you. It's not going to end well. You don't have enough law enforcement to do that.
Well, I don't see that happening, and I think Brandon's just being a little, hyperbolic in his statement because, look, what's happening in Chicago? The illegal immigrants are taking up a lot of the benefits and just driving all the tax costs up in that city, and a lot of that, and the city programs are not going to the people that are there, like the black
Mm-hmm.
community. They're being shortchanged. And that's why a lot of the blacks in Chicago voted for Trump. Okay.
Uh, from what I'm hearing, and there's a lot of video out, and there's been a lot of black people showing up to city council meetings in Chicago for this very purpose. Brandon Johnson, and mark my words on this. Brandon Johnson will be a one-term mayor. He will not get a second. He will not get a second term because overwhelmingly, black people in Chicago, black Chicagoans, have said they're willing to turn the whole city red if need be to get the illegals up out of there. It is very
Mm-hmm.
unpopular.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen in New York where Eric Adams, he's already canceling the debit card program that was in place.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Because they're
that.
billions of dollars in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the
And
hole.
same as Chicago
Yeah.
facing a
Yeah.
deficit because of this.
Yeah.
I think in Eric Adams' case, I think that they held that investigation over his head, the Biden administration, because it's a federal investigation. They control the Department of Justice right now.
Yeah. They're after him now. Mm-hmm.
And they held that investigation over his head to force him to accept the illegals.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Mm-hmm.
politics. It's real dirty. It's not out of the
Yeah.
realm.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, we're looking forward to Trump moving forward with his agenda. And I a lot of people on the left who are already plotting to resist and try to stop his agenda going forward. But the one thing he does have to his advantage is that the voters, oh man, don't let me look at this guy, please. The voters, this guy's Groundhog Day. And this guy here, man, he's like, he loves Trump now. Yeah, the voters are definitely at a point where, they're saying, this is your mandate, Mr. Trump. Do what you got to do. Drain the swamp.
That's what he was given. I mean,
yeah,
these mayors and governors can say what they want. The mandate came down from the people. If
that's
people didn't want this, they wouldn't have voted in such overwhelming numbers for it. I think illegal immigration was the number 2 issue right behind the state of the economy. So these are problems that the American people are saying that they want with. What's going to happen over the course of the next 2 years, and this is my speculation, is that what we're going to see is we're going to see states and cities that accept illegals, and you're going to see the rest of the country driving them out. One thing that I like that he did that is that he's going after the businesses, and his borders are said he's going after businesses and landlords that house them and that employ them. And that's a tactic that the either party has been willing to do. That right there.
Yeah, and the NGOs too that are hiding them and protecting them and taking all our tax. These non-governmental organizations that just sucking up all the tax dollars. Okay, the poor people of Chicago and the Black community can't even get services, man. All the money's going to these illegal immigrants. Look at New York; they living in the best hotels. It's just unacceptable, So it's time for a change, and Trump's going to change it. Now, how do you move millions of people like that?
That's yet to be seen. It's going to be a massive undertaking from law enforcement. I see a lot of job openings in ICE coming up very shortly. Can he get it done? Some people say it's impossible. I don't know. But I know if you're giving
he's got the right guy, Holman.
Exactly. And if you're giving them no refuge, if you're telling the landlords that house them, you can no longer do that because that has always been against federal law. If you're telling the employers that employ them that you can no longer employ them, that has always been against federal law. Then they're going to leave on their own accord, I think.
Well, many of them will, some won't. And the countries that say they won't take them back, Trump's already got a plan for that. He said, you know what? Whatever monies we gave your country to help y'all out, you're not getting it anymore. And that's the one way you can really put a stranglehold on a lot of these countries because they take millions of dollars from us in aid. All right. When our own communities don't get that kind of money.
Exactly.
Okay. So anyway, as we look forward, I'm thinking about the fact that he's got another person, Pete Hegseth, right? That was on Fox News as the Secretary of Defense. Now, there's some people that are kind of, up in arms about that. But Pete Hegseth has got a pretty deep military background. Okay. He's definitely a seasoned veteran. He's been in Afghanistan, he's been in Iraq, and he's a major, retired from the military, and he's a young blood. And he's not a warmonger, but he's willing to be loyal to Trump because right now the Pentagon is just a wayward operation, just like FBI and CIA, the FBI and the DOJ.
This is one area that I'm gonna have to break with Trump on. I'm definitely gonna break with Trump on. Normally, that's a position that is reserved for long-term.
Because for one,
generals, long-serving generals,
military, and kill wokeism. Wokeism and the military that just don't go together.
This is true, but
Okay.
I don't think I don't think he has, as just a major in the military. I don't think he has the experience that needs to be in place to run the entire Department of Defense.
Oh no,
You have,
he won't run the entire department, but he'll be the head guy.
that's
He'll be the civilian representative. You see, because the military is really under civilian control in our country.
this is
So
true.
so the Secretary of Defense is really not basically the guy who calls the shots. The president calls the shots when it comes to
So
using our
what is his
military
role
force.
then? So
His
what was his gentleman role be?
role, he's the Secretary of
Oh,
Defense, fulfills this agenda. That's his job. He works with the Joint Chiefs, and he tells the Joint Chiefs, "Well, the president would like to do this, to do that." It's just like when Trump ran the first time around. Trump said, "All right, I
all right. The connection is in and out.
I kind of so
Try to reconnect.
plan,"
If you hear us over
and
there,
boom,
Freedom
then
Warrior.
ICE is out
Freedom,
in 2 weeks.
Freedom Warrior. You have to try to reconnect there. You might want to disconnect and then reconnect,
Where it took
and Hot Tub will hold it down till you get back on.
I definitely see what Freedom Warrior is saying as far as that goes, but I prefer my Secretary of Defense with more experience. I'd like to see somebody that's actually ran a command, whether it be AFRICOM or something like that,
Hmm.
versus a major. I know the role most majors do, and there are some that are seasoned warfighters that have experience um, in a command, in running a major command, but they have not ran it. That would be my only issue. Does he have the experience? Yes, he's been to Iraq, Afghanistan as a soldier. It's a big difference in those two things. When you're dealing with a colonel, a light colonel, a 1 star, all the way up to a 4 star, they have experience as basically running the whole operation. They see the bigger picture. As a major, you've never been in that situation to have to make those decisions on a large scale. Um, and when you're talking about running what 5 different departments and under the Department of Defense, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, 6 actually, Coast Guard, and now Space Force. That's a lot for that little bit of experience. That's just my stance on it. But like I say,
mm-hmm.
we have experienced secretaries of defense. So I mean, I
Well, the
may
one
not.
thing you got to know is that yeah, a major, which I retired as a major. A major is a staff officer. So by the
Mm-hmm.
time you reach the status of major, you're really basically a glorious paper push. Okay, with executive officers are the chief of staff. They're not leadership, but they're operational. They're in an operational position as
Right.
more administrative operations. Now, by the time you hit full, you're a politician.
Okay.
Because a lot of those guys sitting on the Joint Chiefs, they politicians in uniform.
That's a way to put it. Yeah. We kind of lost you there,
Uh,
Freedom.
we'll get him. Hot Tub. We'll get him back. You can just go ahead and jump into whatever issue you want to jump into for the moment.
Uh, so we're gonna put a pin in that. I say we put a pin in that to see how this plays out. That's one area I would want more experience in. Um, one other area that he came out strong on that I'm a big proponent of is his stance on the Second Amendment. Trump came out and basically gave reciprocity for concealed carry holders throughout all 50 states. That is a big move if you are a Second Amendment person. That means my concealed carry card basically extends through every state, even states that currently don't are not gun friendly states. Is the best way I could put it. How this is gonna play out, I don't know. I mean, that's a bold move, but each state has their own policies as far as their gun control or lack of gun control. So I'm curious to see how this is going to play out in a state like New York or a state like Illinois, where or California, where they have strict gun control laws and they currently don't recognize my concealed carry from the state of Georgia. Basically, the federal government is doing away with your state's right to govern how they want to govern their gun laws. This one, I think, is going to go up to the Supreme Court. But with the Supreme Court that's in place now, I don't see it working out in the favor of the gun control lobbyists. So I'm very curious to see how this is going to play out. Like I say, it's a big win on the 2A side. That I am 100% behind.
Yeah. So why would you be so behind this one?
I am pro gun.
Hmm.
I believe in the Second Amendment 100%. Not so much for the fact that from a point where everybody would think I would be coming from. I mean, it's a checks and balances on the federal government. As long as we have a Second Amendment right, you have the right to defend yourself, your family. As a black person in America, that right, this is a right that I will fight and die for. Because I would never have my people in a situation where we can't defend ourselves. And gun control only leaves us vulnerable. Because you can put as many safeguards as you want, gun control. The only people that are going to follow your gun control laws are law abiding citizens. The people who the law abiding citizens got the guns for, they don't care whether you got gun laws in place or not. They already got guns. They get their guns off the black market. So all it is leveling the playing field as far as I'm concerned, and it keeps the federal government in check. Because as long as we have a right to bear arms, yes, the federal government will out. They have more guns than we could ever have on the streets.
Yeah.
But it's a deterrent. Because if you know that most households, America has almost more guns as people. We definitely have the most gun ownership in the world. As long as we got that right, as long as you don't know what I have, that levels the playing field. Just assume that I have exactly what you have. And I know some guys that do. They got arsenals. Shout out to Coy.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a big win.
Yeah.
There he is.
All
All
right,
right.
gents, I'm back. I'm back.
All right. So we
So,
going so what we well Tub was talking about something there. Tub, go ahead and set the table again on that, or what you was really feeling strong about for this
Yeah,
election.
we had touched on the Trump's stance on the Second Amendment. How he put out reciprocity throughout all 50 states for concealed carry holders.
oh yeah, that's great. That's great. I'm all for that, man. I back that 110%. Because in my experience, man, you know, you go from one state to the next. Just like when I went to Philly, I wanted to take my Glock, but if I was caught with it, or even in Jersey, man, I could be arrested.
Right.
You know, go to jail. I mean, I hadn't discharged a weapon, but if they find it, they can charge me with it and say it's an illegal carry. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm for that reciprocity, man.
It straightens it out. I think that does away with a lot of confusion as to
Mm-hmm.
well, this state says I can do this. If I cross this line, then I have to take the magazine out of my weapon, or I
Right.
can't hold it in this state, or I can't have it at
Mm-hmm.
all state. And I know truck drivers that they pretty much say that's hell. They taking a risk every time they cross state lines.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Well, that's a good change to the law, I think, and I think that ought to be, that ought to be implemented because you should have the right to carry anywhere you go. You should be able to take your weapon with you as long as you're licensed. You know.
That's the big thing now. How it's gonna play out because you bumping
Mhm.
head states' rights at this time.
Yeah.
When
True. True.
I think this is gonna go to the Supreme Court, but like I was saying before you joined us back, I think that
Mhm.
the Supreme Court is gonna rule in favor of the 2A community on this one.
Yeah, I like it. I like it, and I think they will too. I was going to bring up. You brought up DEI. Somebody did. Was that you, TJ, or that was you, Hot Tub? And
That
That
was
talked
was
that
our
about
time, I think.
that was me.
yeah.
Before we jump into that one, Freedom Warrior, let him play the TJ play that first one that I sent you.
All right, the first one. All right. And
This
while
is
you doing that, let me let me
about it,
verify which one the first one is.
the one with Donald Trump.
All right, hold tight. Let me know if this is it right quick.
The right of self-defense every
That's the one.
All right, here we go. Let's let it rip.
the right of self-defense everywhere it is under siege, and I will sign concealed carry reciprocity. Your Second Amendment does not end at the state line.
It's not the
I
one.
like that.
It's the other one. But that goes to the point that we just made.
Well,
Exactly.
hold tight. I'll play the other one.
And getting their money's worth. Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies that hurt our country so badly. Colleges have gotten hundreds of billions of dollars from hardworking taxpayers, and now we are going to get this anti-American insanity out of our institutions once and for all. We are going to have real education in America. Thank you.
And he said it all.
This one, okay. If you paid attention to the video, that this is I intentionally had the text up there for a reason. This one is going around the internet now that the Democrats are using as a talking point. They're saying that Trump wants to give this is reparations for white people, or it's that crazy talking point. They're conflating two different issues. Number one, this is talking about like you said, the whole DEI thing and doing American history. I can see a problem in this, and I will be the first one to say that. Because can it be used to take Black history out of the schools? Yes. But I'm gonna make the stance right now. Black history is not taught in most schools right now under the Biden administration. If this was something that the Democratic Party was so turned up about it, so concerned about, you could have concreted it into law for the past 4 years. So I see this as I see the Democrats using this statement as right now they're using it to fearmonger and to rile up Black people to say by conflating that to our reparations movement. And for them to say that, that's disingenuous when we saw almost over $1 trillion go out of this country and to Ukraine, to Israel, and in the hands of illegal immigrants. So if you want to talk about who has given away our reparations, we saw that in mass over the past 4 years under the Biden.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I hate
Okay.
that talking point by the Democrats.
Yeah, well, I do too. Now, some people are going to try to, poke holes in what Trump's trying to do with this Department of Education matter. But I'm going to be honest with you. As a former educator myself, okay, and I've been in the schools from as an administrator from elementary, middle school, high school as well. I'm here to tell you, the Department of Education is the biggest waste of money. That's almost like handing money to Ukraine, handing money to illegal immigrants. The Department of Education budget is what, about $80 million a year? And only $9 million of that money really goes down to the states. Can you hear me?
9 million or a billion?
No, 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 no. No. Well, I could maybe my million or billion might be off on this, but I can tell you only 10% of that money makes it to the states to support uh, projects and programs. And what happens even that after that, once the school systems get the money or the states get the money, the federal government tie them up with regulations and restrictions and all kind of different, federal guidelines that restrict how that money's being used. And it ties the hands of the administrators. And that's totally wrong, because they give you can't do this, you can't do that because you took federal money, and one size doesn't fit all. So what might work in Georgia might not work in Alabama. And what works in one community with schools won't work in the other. And I've seen, like, I can use Philadelphia as an example, where the quality of the education is at an all-time low, particularly in the Black community. Those Black kids aren't learning anything, man. They're not learning a damn thing. And right now, in America is number 40 in the world in education. We spend more money per student than any other country. And we got kids that can't read, can't do math, okay? Now, we could argue and talk about reparations till the cows come home, but none of that means a darn thing until our kids are up to par in education. And our education level has slipped, and COVID did a lot of damage to it too, man. These kids are way behind. Now,
Now, I'm with
you know who can run the education better? The state Department of Education can do a better job of allocating that money and putting it where it needs to go. But the Department of Education right now is mostly run by the teacher unions.
and therein lies a big problem. I'm kind of split on this issue. I'm split for a couple of reasons. Number one, I see the federal government, and even under Trump, under every president, HBCUs getting endowment. They get so much money from the federal government through the Department of Education. Um, but once it hits the states, I see states basically that there was never any safeguards in place to tell the states this is allocated strictly for this HBCUs or anything like that. So what's been happening, and this has been happening for decades now, is that
Uh-huh.
Yes.
that money that's allocated, when you see the HBCUs constantly going to Congress asking for this money, once it hits the states level, the states are taking a lot of that money. We see a lot. There's a big lawsuit going through now in Tennessee for TSU, that they've been underfunded by the tone of $2 billion. You see a similar lawsuit going on in Georgia. That was brought up by three different schools. I'm drawing a blank to the schools right now, but it was
Uh,
myself and the
Fort
list.
Valley State.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Fort Valley State is one of those that are way in the hole, financially owed by the state of Georgia. 600 million, I believe it is,
It
that
is.
they're owed.
That's just
And
one school.
yeah, and Tennessee, you mentioned Tennessee TSU, that's Tennessee State University. They're like 500, I think it was 500 billion I mean, 500 million in the hole, wasn't it? Twice,
Okay, well
twice over.
let's look a little deeper into the issue. Is that because of the budget management at that school or those institutions? You know, let's go inside the actual financial inner workings of those institutions. Are people actually using that money the way they're supposed to?
I'm
Well,
And
glad
they,
sometimes the problem lies within the unit and not within the system.
I'm glad you brought
Okay.
this is something. It's been an ongoing series on this network. If you go back to the archives of Mr. 411 Sports Network, we've
yeah,
tackled
we had.
we've tackled this issue several times. It's a combination of both. In the case of TCU, it's the state that basically,
Okay.
in the
Tennessee
state,
State, Tennessee
that
State University.
Tennessee State University, um, they admitted, the state of Tennessee admitted that they took that. And that's the discrepancy is how much they took. They admit to
Okay.
that. Their discrepancy is how much they took, and we see that across the board with the HBCUs. How this once that federal money hits the state level, it tends to be misappropriated or sent unequally, as opposed to some of your a good majority of your HBCUs are state schools. They're not privately owned schools. They're state schools. So once the state gets a hold of that, the states are allocating that money as they see fit. They're giving an overabundance to the PWIs, the predominantly white institutions, versus the HBCUs. So this is one of those issues that I'm on the fence about. I want to see how this plays out. And if it does not play out in our favor, I trust and believe we'll act accordingly and it'll get reported on these networks accordingly. And I'm going to speak on it accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
For
Yep. Mm-hmm.
more so to the fact of how the Democratic Party is trying to use this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part that I don't like. I'm not criticized. I can criticize some of his moves, but until he actually does them, and I can
Mm-hmm.
see what the results are going to be, I'm gonna reserve my opinion on a lot of this for now. But do not use this to try to galvanize black people to do what? You just riling up emotions at this time, and that's what I
Mm-hmm.
don't conflate our struggle for reparations. And I'm a big supporter of reparations. I
Yeah,
think.
let's back this up a bit. When Trump was in office the first time,
Mm-hmm.
Trump did increase the funding to HBCUs.
He did.
He got tired of seeing them coming up there begging with their, hat in hand. And after Trump left office, then Biden tried to take credit for that.
He did.
Okay. He tried to take credit for it. But Trump was the one who started giving more money to the historical black colleges. Now I can tell you this much. If Trump sends that money down to the state and he says it's on the state level, any complaints that come to his desk that these people are shortchanging the historical black colleges, you best believe that he'll be all in their case.
That's
Okay.
that's yet to be seen. I hope that is the case.
But our historical black college executives and leaders need to make sure that they're spending the money wisely.
And
Okay.
that right there, what you just said,
If they get the money.
right?
No, well, let's say when they get the money, that they're putting the money
Oh,
where it
okay.
needs to go.
That
Oh,
right there.
yeah, yeah. We definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, we 100% agree with it. I've
Okay.
talked ad nauseum on this network about holding the administrations in our HBCU systems accountable because
That's
there's
right.
a lot of mismanagement that
Mm-hmm.
on directors and managing a lot of these federal funding that come in.
Mm-hmm.
We can go down the list of different schools that
Yeah.
we've tackled on this channel.
Mm-hmm.
All about holding the administration of our HBCUs because even with the money that you do receive,
Right.
I'm looking at subpar living conditions for for our kids when we send them to these
Mm-hmm.
institutions, dorms that are leaking water or flooding every other
Yeah.
year. This is a
Yep.
thing. Subpar conditions for the sports
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
states that are in the states of disrepair. So yes, I agree wholeheartedly.
And dormitories that are not even as fancy as Motel 6.
So it's a dual thing. It's I can't just put that all on the federal government. I can put a lot of it on the state. A
Mm-hmm.
whole lot on the state. And I can put a whole lot on the board of directors at each individual HBCU, how they've been mismanaging these funds too. So
Well, the one thing too, Tony, that we also got to remember is that when funds are allocated to educational institutions, they look at enrollment as well. How many students do you have? How much staff do you have? You know, how much support staff do you have? You know, all those things go into the calculations. It's just like uh, just public school system. The schools get so much money per student.
mhm.
Okay. And then there's also departmental funding for science, math, reading, music, whatever. You know, they have to break all that money out. And some departments do, even at the local public school level, get more money than certain other departments. You see what I'm saying? Like the science department might get more money than the math department. And maybe they get more money than the social studies department, you know, but then who gets the most in most of these schools, particularly in colleges? The athletic department. The athletic brings in a lot of money, particularly in these big schools. They bring money in. So they have to look at all that. They balance all those things, you know. But my concern, basically, with getting the Department of Education out of Washington is to kill all these policies that are coming down from Washington, from the Department of Education, that are mandating to these schools that you will have CRT. Okay. And you will have DEI. And you will let drag queens come in and talk to your kindergarten.
That
Okay.
Now that's the portion that I do think you need to take all this gender mess and all of this the sexual orientation portion. It was never the responsibility of the federal government or the state government to teach our children about sex and different sexes and man and woman. That's always been since
Hmm.
time.
Yeah. But see,
Everything.
this is all coming down from the Department of Education. They
So
approve it.
that's what I agree. That's that portion that if he's tackling that portion, I agree.
Yeah.
If this is going to be you, and I'm saying all of this is because right now I think a lot of people are trying to interpret what Trump is going to do. And one thing about Trump, just because we think that's what he means, in all cases that ain't what he means. He I don't know. He got a way about it when he talk that it makes sense to him, but it might not make sense to me until he do it.
But yeah,
So
well,
I
but he
want to.
did make it clear that he wants CRT out of our educational system, teaching critical race theory out, teaching hiring based on diversity, equity, and inclusion out. You hire people based on meritocracy. Are you skilled? Do you have the skills and knowledge to hold that position? Not because you a black person or you an Asian person. I'm hiring you because I got to have this quota. You know. And what happens a lot of times? Go ahead.
Now, overwhelmingly, that's not going to hurt us, as we saw with them getting rid of affirmative action in the school system. The Asians
But
push
but
that.
but this is what the left is trying to say about getting rid of the Department of Ed, that it's going to be really harmful and detrimental to black students. To me, that's not true. To me,
I
it's going to be beneficial because our black kids don't need to be going to school sitting up there wanting to hear about some drag queens and girls in the boys' bathroom and boys in the girls. That's nonsense. You
I'm
send
not
kids to school
going
to learn.
to be on that because I agree with you. What you're saying, like
Okay.
that. When they got rid of affirmative action in colleges through the lawsuit when it went through the Supreme Court. As we see now, we're a year out from that decision to take affirmative action out of the collegiate side of the system, and it did not hurt. Oh, black college enrollment basically dipped 1%.
Mm-hmm.
It
Okay.
affected the Asian community was the one that brought that lawsuit up. It affected their community
It
more than
did.
about We've never benefited from DEI programs, from affirmative action. Any of these programs that was set up for us never benefited us.
Exactly. As a matter of
So
fact, it had the reverse effect.
I'm not opposed to that, because when we're left to stand up on our merits as a people, we do outstanding.
Amen, brother. I agree with you 100%.
So
Okay.
that's one thing.
Yeah.
My argument was more so of, and I hate using the terms left and not, but I know where that whole post came from.
Uh-huh.
It's been kicked out for the last 48 hours. It came from Democratic think tank.
Okay.
It's a talking point that they're trying to use to galvanize black folks, and I'm cautioning my people.
Yeah.
Don't get riled up. See what the man do. We're 60 days out from him being installed as president.
Well, I can tell you this much. Kids right across America can't do any worse right now, man.
I agree with you on that.
Okay, they can't do any worse. I mean, right now we are really at the bottom, man. Kids in other countries, they're gonna eat our lunch, man. In this AI society that the generations are moving into now, they're light years ahead. You know, look at the Asian kids, man. You go to Japan and places like that, man. Those kids, they don't spend half their day on TikTok. They don't go to school and BS around. They go there and they're hitting the trig. They're hitting the engineering. They're hitting, the research. They're doing all kinds of stuff, man, that our kids have just been told, hey, look, don't you worry about that. Just be a good person, you know, do what we say do and you'll be all right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with that said, right? Okay, what is this administration? If you just want to like break it down into like just maybe layman terms for someone who just tuned in or whatever, what's going to be the difference? What's going to be the difference as far as in
Oh,
the
well, I
in
think
what
that
what do you
I
envision as
think
the difference?
I think achievement levels are gonna soar. Kids are going to start getting serious about their education, and parents are too, because right now it's too much distraction, you know, and there are too many teachers that are not actually teaching these kids math, science, social studies, engineering, all the things that they're going to need to be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they teaching them about feelings and emotions, and if you upset about something, you could have some cry time and all this kind of stuff. You know,
So
and don't
so
and,
that
and
is it.
everybody's a winner. Everybody's a winner. Even if you
Okay,
lose, you
so
get a trophy.
right, like
You
in
know,
sports nowadays, but like, or so are they going to vet teachers? Are they going to make it
they're gonna have
a
to.
different criteria for teachers, or in mandated lesson
Well,
plans, if you
beyond
will?
no, wait. Beyond that, the curriculum is going to
Hmm.
be spread across the entire system. But at the same token, the same way we were talking about trying to improve colleges and universities, they got to
Yeah,
improve schools in the minority community, because a lot of these schools are rundown schools. A lot of these kids don't have the same equipment and or
right.
materials and physical conditions. They all have to be improved, and you also have to make sure that you're not sending all your best teachers to one school or to just selected schools. They should go to all schools
I mean,
in every neighborhood.
from my point of view on this one, I think it's going to break down into this. When you take the federal government out of the equation, that's seeming the way he's going to go.
Hmm.
Send us out of the school system. What you're going to have, and it's just my opinion, is you're going to have different states instituting their own rules. This is where your local voting is going to come into play. So once you take the federal government out of the equation, then the onus of how the school system is and what curriculum is taught is on that state that you're in and that municipality that you fall under, whether it be your county, your district, or whatever like that. So
Hmm.
what I think is going to happen is it's going to be some stuff that we don't like get taken out. They're going to come back and, Florida going to do what Florida do. Texas going to do what Texas going to do. They're going to back history up out. Okay. On the local level, you can fight that.
Hmm.
up off your behind, start running. This is what I preach across the board. Black people, if you don't like how your schools are turning out, get out there, vote your local election. Find your own candidates to run. Well, if you don't have a person that you feel confident that can run, you be that person. To run for a board of education seat, it's a 1-year term in the state of Georgia. And I can only speak for Georgia. To run that to sit on that BOE, you might have to spend $2,000. 250 of it is just you filing for the right to run. It's criteria set out. If you go online and say, "Hey, what do I need to do to
Qualify.
sign up to be on the board of education?" It lays it
Mhm.
out. I just looked at this the other day. That's something I'm considering doing. So step in there. If you don't want a situation where they got down in Florida where I'm drawing a blank on their governor name right now. I'm having a brain for it.
Who, DeSantis?
DeSantis. If you don't like what DeSantis is doing down there,
Mhm.
DeSantis moves very easy. Just vote, y'all can vote him out. And then on the local level, you go start filling these positions, because that's what I'm telling to black folks. I'm not saying get behind either party.
Mhm.
What I'm telling you to do is, if you don't see the candidates that's pushing the agenda that you want, then you run. Don't go as an independent. Run as an independent. It's fairly inexpensive to run for the board of education.
Yeah, you got a strong point there. I got you. And all politics are local. I get that. But let me just also say, it doesn't matter what school your child's in. And I mean, TJ, I've sent him to school, right, TJ?
Yep.
You
You
okay?
good.
Yeah, if
Rolling.
you got kids, right? And they're school age children. It matters not whether you uh, consider yourself a good, upstanding citizen. If you are not involved in your kid's education as a parent, you're hurting that student too. Okay? Because every parent has a responsibility to be involved in their kid's education. You ought to know what's being taught in that school. Okay? You ought to know what's in the curriculum. And you ought to go to meetings at the school. It all starts at the building level. And then it moves up to the Board of Education. If you got an issue with that school, then you take that to the board. You see what I'm saying? So parental involvement is a big part of the educational process. And we got too many parents who sit at home and they want the school to be the parent and the teacher. Am I right?
In a lot of cases, yes, I'll agree with that.
Okay, but the only time some parents come to school is when the kid got in trouble, you know, or there's an issue that they're upset with because maybe their child didn't get selected for this, or, you know, they got a bad grade. What happened here? You know, the bottom line is, if you're involved in your kid's education, then you have the right. And this is what Trump is. This is the gem in all of this. He's offering school choice. You don't have to stay trapped in a failing school. You could take that money that's allocated to your child from the state, and you take that money and put your kid in charter school, put them in a private school, put them in a Christian school.
Okay.
So
All right. Run that back real quick for me. You said, what is that again? Choice?
choice,
What
school
was
choice,
that?
school
School
choice.
choice.
Yes,
So
he's
what is this
advocating
plan
that.
again? What is this plan again? What's
Okay,
allocated to the student?
as I mentioned earlier, that
Yeah.
the state allocates money to schools based on their student population. Okay, there's a thing called daily attendance. If
Hmm.
you got a lot of kids who stay out of school all day, that school district loses money
Mm.
for poor
Oh,
attendance.
that's okay. That's why they incentivize the perfect attendance and all that.
That's
Yeah.
right, because it's called daily average attendance. Those
Okay.
reports go up to the state every day. Okay, how many kids were absent from your school today? Why were they absent? What was their status? Blah blah blah. Okay, all that is calculated and processed on a daily basis. But I'm saying I'm going back to choice, and this is what Trump is going to be advocating very strongly. So it's coming. If your child's in a failing school, you have the right to take the money that is allocated from the state for your student, be it $8,000, $9,000 a year, whatever it might be. You could take that money and you could take your kid to another school. You can put
Okay.
them in a private school, Christian school, charter school, whatever.
What if you
If
go to a public school? What if
Huh?
you still got money? I mean, if you go to a public school, what if you say I'm going to another public school
Well,
where
if
I don't
you're
have
in
to
a
pay?
public school, that money goes to the school district.
Okay, all right. Now, all right, thank you. Just want to make
Okay.
sure that was out there.
if
All right.
that is indeed what he's saying, and I can't confirm that that's what he's saying because I haven't heard him say that.
No, he did say that. I heard him say it.
If that is what he's saying,
Yeah.
then I was sitting behind that, but not so much for the reason that you think. I think that gives us as a community the perfect opportunity to start our own schools instead
Okay.
of
Well, in some areas they have some. There are some schools in the black community in certain states that they started their own charter schools,
and if that's the
and
move
some Christian schools.
if that's the move that he makes, then I'm
Hmm.
behind because
Yeah.
and this is one of the things that I kind of had a back and forth with Roadblock on.
Hmm.
If that's the move that he's making and he's going to give a choice to the parents,
Right.
then cool. Let us decide what we want to what we want to send our kids. And if we
Hmm.
in schools that we don't have to worry about where they're not teaching Black history in this school, it's
Hmm.
not.
Mm-hmm.
It was never the federal government. It was never white people's job to teach our history to our children. That's our job first and foremost. So if
I
we have
agree.
to establish our own school systems, our
Hmm.
schools, be they charter school, be they Christian school, however they want to set them up, then I'm all for it.
Hmm.
We can educate the way we want to educate, the same way homeschooling does. When you homeschool,
Exactly.
they give you a guideline. But
Hmm.
Yep.
what you teach that child, as long as you're hitting the points in that guideline, whatever else you teach that child, that's on you.
Hmm.
The federal
I
government,
agree.
the state government can't intercede on that because that's
Yeah.
your career at that point in time. So
Yeah.
they just want to know that you meet the state goals, the
Hmm.
testing.
All right.
Well,
Hey, I'm really and I'm really intrigued with this education piece that we're on right now segment, and we can take our time with it. And but now in the very beginning, remember guys, we talked about the I think at the college level we was talking about, and I think Hot Tub you brought it up that there's just money that some HBCUs are old and have been old for over 40, 50 years. Um, that was tied into land grants.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we talked about that. And we do have somebody else that wants to join us tonight. So if they can hear me, hang in there real tight. I want to play these two videos so that it's on this segment and you guys can comment on it as well. And plus we'll throw someone else in here in a minute too. But I'm gonna play the video number one. This is like a minute. And then the
okay.
second video, it's longer than a minute, but I'm not gonna play the whole thing. So
Okay.
I'll probably let it run for a minute or two. All right, here's the first one.
If you go to Fort Valley State University in Georgia or just care about higher education here in the Peach State, this info might be interesting to you. Two federal officials this week sent a letter to Georgia Governor Brian Kemp saying that the state of Georgia has historically underfunded the HBCU Fort Valley State University to the tune of $603 million over the last 30 years. I'm Vanessa McCrae, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution's higher education reporter. Like and follow.
I'm going to tell you the story of two schools. Both of them are in the state of Tennessee, but they have drastically different budgets. One is the University of Tennessee. The other is Tennessee State University. Both of these schools got their start as what we call land grant institutions. Back in the late 1800s, then President Abraham Lincoln signed a law that gave states federal land or cash to start land grant colleges. A lot of big universities got their start that way. My alma mater, Rutgers, is a land-grant university. University of Missouri, land-grant university. University of Georgia, same thing. The University of Tennessee was all white until 1961. Tennessee State University, though, is an HBCU, a historically black college or university. And it turns out that for decades, one of these schools wasn't getting its fair share. And you can probably guess which one of these schools it is. Records show TSU may be owed up to, wait for it, $544 million in land grant funding. The federal land grant program provides funding for certain research and teaching programs at land grant institutions. It typically relies on states to match however much money is granted. But a new report found that from 1957 to 2007, Tennessee didn't match funds for TSU, leaving its only public HBCU without hundreds of millions of dollars in funding. And here's the real kicker. During the same period, records show that the University of Tennessee not only received its full state match, but in some years received more than required. Our next guest says,
All right, we're back. I know
Okay.
everybody's moving around, but we're back.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. I had
that was some of that. That was some of the details on what we was talking about earlier when it comes
right.
to land grant. All right, so you can comment on that, and I'm bring roadblock in as well, and then
Okay.
we can continue on with the other topics. All right.
I
Yeah.
want to put that
You want
five.
Roadblock to throw something in right quick, or you want me to go ahead and comment on that?
Let me just add
Yeah.
something to that. What we just saw.
Because I
That five,
want to add something too.
that 500
Okay.
million, that number that they're giving, that is the amount that the state of Tennessee admits that they've shorted uh,
Right.
State University. The actual number that Tennessee State has sued for was $2 billion. So that's the only
Yes.
I want to add to that. That's 500 million is what they're admitting that they didn't give them.
I was
Right.
I was actually there working near Tennessee State when they had that bill come across in the state house, and what the state house led by Republicans were trying to do was expel the whole board of TSU
They did
so they could put in
before.
their own proxies so they can not pay Tennessee State that money. And
Well,
those two brothers, the one brother with the afro that was shouted down in the house
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
he was advocating for Tennessee State to get their
Uh-huh.
money, and Republicans kicked him out of the chamber for advocating to get that money. It's crazy.
I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I saw him. Um, let's take a little walk back down history lane. We know that most of these colleges now that we do recognize as historical black institutions, right? HBCUs. A lot of these colleges started up because we couldn't get into the white colleges, right? And many of them
Correct.
were started by the churches. So a lot of these schools were really supported by the church, the Methodist Church, the Episcopal Church, the Baptist Church, because they during the 60s, the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, there was segregation. Okay. And a lot of us couldn't even go to these white colleges, these white universities. So all the funding came from basically from fraternities and foundations and the church. So once integration came in full swing, what happened? The university, the state took it over and put everybody under the university system. What was South Carolina State before it became South Carolina State University? It was just South Carolina State College. What was TSU before it became Tennessee State University? Was it Tennessee State College?
We have to see. I have to look. I don't know.
Okay, but I'm telling you, a lot of these
Okay.
schools were just called colleges. They weren't called universities. But now everybody is under the university system. Albany State University. It used to be Albany State College.
That's
So what
correct.
has happened here? There has been an evolution, but now when we start talking about the money, I'm with you on that. I get it. They should provide more funding to these schools, even though these schools aren't as big in size and scope as, let's say, University of Tennessee compared to Tennessee State. Because these folks didn't, these universities, black colleges didn't have the amount of acreage of land or buildings or facilities that these other schools had.
But most
And it
most
takes more money to run a bigger institution than a smaller. Do you feel me?
Now,
not necessarily, but go ahead.
it's a couple of things with that.
It is.
This was one of them issues. Like I say, we've covered this extensively on this network.
Okay.
Extensively. It's a dual. And from my point of view on this, from the research that both Mr. 411 and I have done,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of blame on both sides. I hold the state accountable for the money that they shorted each individual HBCU.
If the record shows that money was allocated to those schools and that money was withheld, then that's a legal matter. That's a litigious issue, and that issue must be addressed, and the funds should be provided.
And it is.
Yep.
It's in court now.
Okay.
Case of TSU, that's not even in question. The state of Tennessee is admitting it. That
Yeah.
$560 million.
That they shorted them. Okay, I get that.
Plus
I mean,
plus another
if
plus
you do a
another
deep,
580. Plus another 580 on top of that.
but if you
Okay.
do another deep dive, I bet you 80% of the HBCUs in this country have been shorted in some way or form by the states that they're in.
They
So
have.
what you're saying then to me is that you're not saying, well, University of Tennessee got $50 million and Tennessee State only got 10 million. Is that
That's
what you're saying?
that's exactly what has been happening. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
but
Or are you
That's what
saying University of Tennessee got 50 million and when Tennessee State was supposed to get 10 million, they only got 2 million?
that's more on the lines of what we're saying.
yeah.
Okay.
What they're
Basically.
supposed to have been allocated, and that's why I
All right.
keep caveat with TSU situation
So
because that
they were shortening the allocations.
yes. Now the
Okay.
C is admitting they admitted to $500 million that they shorted. That's what they admit to. TSU
Okay.
saying no, it's closer to $2 billion.
Wow,
So
that's a
Yeah.
lot of money.
that's why it's
Yeah.
It's over the years.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
over
okay.
that 40,
Accumulated
50
over the
year
years.
period.
It's an
It's
accumulation
accumulation.
of funding
Yes.
shortages
If
and
you think
funding.
about it, a lot of these state schools, when you were talking about they're not as big. How do you get big money? You buy blocks. The University of Toledo, where I'm from, when I was in
Mhm.
college, was 10 times, well, 2 times smaller than it is now. And now it's
Uh-huh.
2 times bigger because they get money from the state. They buy up land, or
Yeah.
they move a certain way. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
money, when it comes to education, money is a business. I mean, education is a business, especially when we talk about higher learning. So when you talk about HBCUs, and I'm glad you brought that up, Tony, because these folks are strategically not paying out. It's not like they like, oh, we forgot to give this money out. No, they're deliberately withholding funds. Because if you go to like when Dion was at Jackson State, now
Yep.
university, if you look at the colleges in Mississippi, totally different. Ole Miss campus is beautiful.
Yeah.
Ole Miss campus is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
You got Mississippi State. Mississippi State is a nice campus. Delta, the HBCU there, like
Talking about
Delta,
Mississippi Valley State and then also Delta. Yep.
they got dude, horrible campus,
Mm-hmm.
horrible campus, but they get money from the state. So they're going to allocate, and that goes to when we talk about education in the public schools. It's the same way.
Uh-huh.
It's the same way. When you talk about, oh, so we're going to give these kids a school choice, right? So the problem with school choice, and it has been documented, is that more white kids are getting the vouchers for school choice than the black kids. And a lot of black kids aren't getting these vouchers. There's a line, there's a waiting period to get a voucher to move your kid out of that district. And a lot more white kids are getting those vouchers than black kids. So now we're talking about, so hold on. So now we're talking about, even if we do get some of those black kids out, that's money being taken away from the public school that the other kids are going to. That's a lot of
exactly. I agree. Yeah.
That's money being taken out of that public school. So my daughter goes to a public school. I specifically put her into a public schools because we got a lot of academies that you have to be. If you are substantially you up here when it comes to the brain power. They have academies, and they'll put these kids in different academies and stuff like that. That'll give LP, Rosa Parks. And when I was telling you, Hot Tub, where they teach African American history to these kids, because predominant, all of the kids that are in these public schools are predominantly black. And we have to keep that, because all these kids can go to a charter school, because charter schools, like, I took my son out of a charter school when he was 6 because a lot of those teachers don't even have an accreditation. They just teaching. They literally just teaching. And they don't have an accreditation to teach. They just teaching. And that's a lot of issues when you're talking about charter schools in certain places. And okay, how about this? If Donald Trump wants to eliminate the Department of Education, who's going to divvy out the Pell Grants? Because a majority of black people, when they go to college, they use that Pell Grant to go to college. The Pell Grant is actually issued out by the Department of Education. So how is that going to work?
And this is what you kind of came.
Well, that's where the states are going to have to reorganize. They're going to have.
That's not going to happen, man.
They're going to have to reorganize how they're managing the funds.
That's not going to happen. So you're going to eliminate a whole department and then bring it down to the states. And then when the 4 years is up and if somebody else who's a Republican doesn't get reelected and a Democrat roll in, and then they re-implement the Department of Education, it's going to be a big ass cluster hell. And nobody's going to know what they're doing. It's not going to be anything conducive to anything that's going to work. I'm telling you.
First of all, let's do this, because this is what's going to happen. The president-elect said he's going to do this. It may work. Right now, we are naysayers. We're saying it's not going to work. It's not going to be effective. It's not going to be efficient. It may be. It may salvage, draw more attention to some of these failing schools. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, we already have a grading system, and don't you have a grading system in your city?
Oh, we all do.
We all have a grading system, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but some are graded a little more stringently than others. It's like in some places, a 90 and a score is a B. In order to get an A, you got to make a 93.
No. I'm talking about the school system, the school, or this school.
Oh, how they rank?
Has an A, or this school district has a B, or this is a failing school.
You're talking about ranking the school systems.
Yeah.
That's done on the state by state level.
Okay, yeah, but even within the school district, you could point out the schools that you wouldn't want to send your kids to. Why should that be? You should be able to send your kid to any school in that school district and feel that kid's getting an equal education.
Yeah, but then you also have to figure out, it's not just the teachers all the time. It's not just the teachers or the school system. It's these parents.
I said that. Thank you.
I know, but I came in at the last part of that. I can teach a child all day, every day. You take this homework home. You got a test tomorrow. You got this and you got that. They go home. Their parents sit them in front of the TV, and they don't do shit else for the rest of the day. That right there defeats the purpose. Just like if me and Hata, we parents, we got, you know what I'm saying, and we single out here, but we single dads, and we instill in these boys, you got to do this and you got to do that, and then they go over to their mama house and then act a damn fool, and everything that we taught them goes right out the window when they go over there, and then you pretty much got to start off from
You got to
square one.
re-educate them all over again, reorient
all over again when they come see you. So I mean, the education system in this country is lacking. I'm not saying that it's great because it's not. But you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater neither.
Yeah, but you came in on the point that I was making about parental involvement. You know, you can send your kid to school A or B, but if you don't have a parent that's there looking over that kid's shoulder, looking over that school's shoulder, you don't know what your kid's learning. Now, and a lot of these parents just recently found out that their kids were learning all about sex and all this other kind of mess.
My daughter has not learned about no sex in school.
Okay, but that's going on in the public school system across this country.
Where?
It is.
Where?
Look, man, I'm in my area. We talked about this at our school meeting.
Hold on.
I ain't never seen that shit, man.
Oh, it is happening, brother. It's happening. It's happening. It's happening.
Man, what is anecdotal shit, dude?
Where you seeing that tub?
What is happening?
Oh,
and I'm very familiar with both sides of this. Is that it's being pushed everywhere. It's not being taught everywhere. The reason it's not being taught everywhere is because you have involved parents that, like myself, that go to school board meetings where they talk about this is going to be implemented, because everywhere that they've implemented that, they've had meetings prior to say this is what's going to be added to the curriculum. Now, this is where I hold the parents accountable. Are you going to those school board meetings? Are you saying no? Because here in my district, in my city, that was an issue, but it was voted down. So they had to push that off the agenda because the parents stood up. Now, both of you make valid points. I agree with the parents, but this is something that I'm very passionate about, is the education system in America. I'm dealing with something currently where we have teachers in the school district, and I'm battling with the school and the district on this, where we have foreign teachers, and this is happening all across the board. It don't matter, rich school, poor schools, or whatever. There's a teacher shortage. So what America has done through the different states and the federal government is allowed foreign teachers to come in. In my case, my son's teacher is Nigerian, doesn't speak fluent English, does not. The kids can't understand the curriculum that he's being put. How they learn things in his home country is different from how it's taught here, how it's been historically taught here. So what we're having is a clash of cultures as far as the teaching goes. And it's not just one of my kids. I have two boys in the school system right now. One is 11, one is 9. I went through it with two different teachers, and the school that he's in and now is majority Indian and African that are teaching them. That's a problem. That is a problem. That's a huge problem that transcends Democrat or Republican. It transcends all states. It's a problem across the board. These are things that I think the federal government should tackle in to do away with the whole Department of Education. I don't agree with that. Do away with what does not work.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm not going to say that you don't have a right to have that feeling about, how you feel about getting rid of the department. I'm proactive, and I support getting rid of the Department of Education, because as a former educator, I know that the federal government, anytime you turn something over to the federal government, you sometimes you got an issue, because it comes with too many restrictions, too many regulations, that really hamstring and really causes a lot of issues for the local school systems. Okay, because they can dictate to you what you're going to do because you took federal money, and that's how it works.
The state can't do that.
Well, the state can do it, but that's at a state level. So you're dealing with it at a state level. The state has to, but the state is having to do what the federal government is telling them. Even if they don't agree with it, they have to do it.
But don't the state? So
it's just like they say.
So
if the federal government says, if the federal government sends down a mandate that your child should be taught or should be given the opportunity to discuss their gender dysphoria, then the counselors in that school are going to follow that. They're gonna do it. They're gonna say, "Hey, Johnny, you feel like you a little girl? Come on, let's talk."
Not necessarily.
And
Now
then
that
in
I
some states, they don't. The parents aren't even allowed to know.
that now that scenario that you just said right there, that's not necessarily true. Now for California, yes, it is, because that's the way their state set up. The state can always come in. It's the same reason why we don't have universal school textbooks. Each state has their own version of their textbooks.
they already.
So all
Yeah.
the federal government can do is give a guideline.
Yep.
They say this is on the agenda. The states can always come in. That's where the states' rights come in. The states can always come in and say we're not teaching that. The parents also in the school, when it trickles down to the school district, your parents have a right to come to the school board meeting and say we don't agree with
We don't
that.
want that.
So, the federal government's mandate does not trump the states' rights. The states' rights really don't pretty much trump what the district sets in place, because that's dictated by the parents. That's what they're having a problem with that's what they're actually fighting about in Florida right now. DeSantis set out a mandate to say you're not going to teach this. The different districts said no, we still gonna teach it, and all they can do is fight it out in state court, in the state state.
That had to do with teaching of Black history.
Say again.
Did that have to do with Black history? Did that have to do with teaching of Black history?
That particular
Afro-American studies.
They call it DEI.
Hold on. It's two different. You talking different cases, because there's a couple of different cases in place right now. So you have one that's in place for teaching Black history. You do. You have three more that are playing out right now that they want to teach LGBT.
Right.
So
right.
It's not a one catch all. Now, wrapping that under the umbrella of DEI, that's why I don't agree with that whole term of DEI, because that DEI has been co-opted by some extremist groups to push an LGBT agenda. But it falls under, unfortunately, Black history falls under that umbrella of DEI.
1619 Project, they was really going after that in Texas. So the problem with a lot of it and putting it to the states is that we got to understand that we have some really ridiculous states being ran by Republicans. You got Texas, you got Mississippi, you got Alabama, you got Louisiana, you got Florida, where they are literally trying to Texas tried to take out slavery out of all of the books, and they're literally about to do it. And it's going to put in voluntary servitude. So this is what say what?
Unless I'm mistaken, which I don't think I am, but last I heard that got struck down.
By I don't think it was, because it went to the state.
It put it to a vote, and it got voted down through that. See, and I don't mean to cut you off, but this is what I'm talking about. So I agree with you on the fact that, and we talked about this. You kind of came late because we did cover that. And that
my bad. Y'all, I looked up and y'all have been on for an hour. I just seen that shit.
Yeah.
But we glad to have you, man.
Hey, you good, man. Hey, we glad you're here, man. We glad you're here, bro. It's all good.
I don't disagree with you on that, Roadblock, because I said the same thing. But this is the caveat that I put on that. When those things, that's going to put the onus on everybody in these individual states, because we had it come up to a vote here, and the governor got so much backlash on it because we do have a substantial Black population that he had to back up off of it. So what it's going to boil down to is that each state is going to, those Black people in those states are going to have to step up and start voting on the local level to get people in place that are going to fight that agenda.
Be advocate.
Now remember when I talked to you about Mississippi?
Yeah.
So I told you about how Mississippi is literally keeping black people from voting who served their time, because they have the second highest black population in the country of any state. Mississippi does, but they have one of the lowest voting turnouts of any state for black people.
And
So,
I think the lowest wages per capita too.
yeah, it's the poorest state in the union.
Yeah.
And then they have the highest incarceration rate for black males in the country. So when men get out of prison, they trying to get their rights back. The Mississippi House struck down a bill granting voting rights back to felons because they don't want black people to vote. They don't want that because they know they'll lose power if they did. They know that they'll lose power. The whole game is, and I'm starting to gravitate more away from racism and shit like that and gravitate more towards power. These folks want to keep power more than anything. And they're really willing to sacrifice everything to keep it. So we talk about school choice and all this other stuff. All of these are code words to give more rights back to these states, to give more rights so they can basically implement what they want. And they're ultimately going to answer to Trump and his administration. If you look at his administration right now, why the fuck is Matt Gaetz?
We talked about that.
Man, God damn it, man, I can't I can't stand that job. I'm over here eating my Chipotle.
You ready?
I don't want to rehash that one, man. I don't want to rehash that one. But anyway,
it was some comment that was go ahead.
Coy. I did not say facts, Coy. Yep.
Yeah, I don't want to rehash that one, but I understand.
If you look at his cabinet right now, he is surrounding himself with people with yes men, with attaboys, with dudes that have stood by him and have never said anything bad about him in public. These are people who are literally going to let him in.
Well, I don't know about that now. Marco Rubio slammed him.
Marco Rubio on many TV stations, and they asked him about Trump's many allegations, and this dude that stood by him and ain't said nothing else. Marco Rubio is just like the rest of them, just like what's his name, McCarthy. When they disavowed him after January 6th, and then Trump summoned him down to Mar-a-Lago, and then when he left there, he was all in Trump's pocket. So I mean, he's surrounding himself with people who are.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna say this to that. They all do it.
Yeah,
the Democrats do it.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. Yeah, they do.
And the reason why they don't, and the reason why they don't is
Sonny Hostin asked Kamala Harris on national television, "What would you do different from Biden?" She said, "Nothing comes to mind." She knew that man was suffering with dementia.
She's the vice president.
Why wouldn't she? What?
Why? She's the vice president. So if I'm your spokesperson, and you have
I don't buy that. I don't buy that.
Hold on. If I'm your spokesperson, right? If I'm
he was walking the party line.
Hold on. If I'm your spokesperson and you step out on your wife and it's a big scandal, and then you tell me go out there and defend me. I go out there and defend you. Am I supposed to say, yeah, he had sex with that woman in front of everybody on the press conference? Am I supposed to tell everybody that? No, I'm not. I'm gonna hold the party line. I'm gonna hold that. My issue with that is Mike Milley. All of these people who was under Trump the last time, they spoke out. They quit. A lot of them quit. That's why when I said it the last time, this is why Trump said, I need generals like Hitler had. Because
I don't buy that.
Listen to what I'm saying. He didn't say just because they was Nazis. What he was saying is that they listened to whatever Hitler told them to do. They did it. That's what Trump wants, and that's what he is putting into place. You don't see these dudes, man. Matt Gaetz, this dude who is literally who is a sex trafficking. He got sex trafficking a minor that he's
hadn't been proven.
hasn't been proven, but I don't care. I'm not gonna hire nobody who got allegations on him like that, who's actively being investigated.
Since we're going back to it, this is what I said.
Anyway, going back to where we were.
I gotta go though, man. My wife had a long ass time. I gotta go.
I would say this.
All I'm gonna say about
they all do it. They all do it on both sides.
That's a cop out.
On both sides.
That's a cop out.
No. Okay. I told Hot Tub earlier. Look at Senator Menendez. You didn't hear a thing about him.
Did he?
Because the Democrats circled the wagons.
Hold on, no, they didn't. They fired him. They investigated him, and he is gone. What are you talking about?
He's gone now, but look how long he lasted.
They investigated him and they fired him. He had to step down. Who was the one?
He had to, but he didn't want to, and they didn't make him.
Hold on. Al Franken he got removed from all his committees and he had to resign his post.
Yes, he did. Because his stuff is very egregious.
Not the same.
Okay.
Roadblock. Roadblock.
I got more examples if you want them.
Roadblock. Pump your brakes. This is what I said about that, because that Matt Gaetz started getting investigated right at the start of the Biden administration. They had 4 years to do something with that investigation. In those 4 years, they still haven't brought any charge. They still haven't removed him from any committees. They still allowed him to operate. So this is a monster of the
Who is they?
Because if you would have punished them, if you'd have wrapped up your investigation instead of trying to use his position as a wedge issue for you to run against, that's what they did.
Who was running against Matt Gaetz?
That's what they were lining them up for, because
who was running against Matt Gaetz?
Listen to what I'm saying. It doesn't take 4 years for those kind of allegations to be investigated, and that
it doesn't.
Thing to be
absolutely. They investigated Hillary Clinton for 7 years.
For them to drag it out this long, that's their fault. So if
they investigated Joe Biden for 4 years.
If you don't like the fact that he
was guilty, but go ahead.
If you're gonna punish him, you should have punished him. That's what my point is.
Mm-hmm.
You had time to do it. You could have devoted more resources to the Justice Department just specifically for that, but you didn't. If you wanted, and that same thing I told you last time with us when we were talking. If you didn't want Trump running, you had 4 years to bring actual real charges and prosecute him, but you didn't.
They did prosecute him.
But he's not. But they didn't convict him.
What's the name say about Merrick Garland? Said Merrick Garland been dragging his damn feet because Merrick Garland already said it's kind of hard to investigate somebody who was president.
You put it in place several different states. So you mean to tell me you couldn't wrap up the investigation before it was time to? You had control of Congress when you came in. You could have passed a law that the convicted felon could not run for president. You had control.
You can't do that
for 2 years.
You can't do that. You can't do that.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't, because you would have to get rid of the filibuster, and they can't get rid of the filibuster.
They could have got rid of the filibuster.
They couldn't have because if you get rid of the filibuster, hold on, Hot Tub. If you get rid of the filibuster, then you got to think about when the next Republican is in office,
administration comes in.
Because once the filibuster is gone, it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
It's gone. So when a Republican gets into office and there's no filibuster to stop him, like a Trump, like there, you can't eliminate the filibuster. Everybody is afraid to get rid of the filibuster. Everybody is afraid to get rid of the filibuster.
No, they're not afraid.
Want to get rid of it.
Kamala said that she was going to get rid of it.
So this result that you get.
Kamala said she wanted to get rid of it.
My whole point
Trump said that he was going to make Mexico pay for the wall.
By you doing that,
it happens.
Filibuster, by you not making a law that say he couldn't run. See, these are monsters of your own creation.
That's right.
That's everything in life. That's everything.
Be careful what you wish for.
That's everything in life. So you know what I heard. You know what I heard today.
What you hear?
In Detroit, those the Arabic folks that's in Detroit.
All right.
So now they like, because most of them either abstained, they didn't vote, or they voted for Jill Stein. So now they see that they stood up at Kamala's the little rally or whatever, free Palestine, doing all that shit, and then now since Trump has been in office, so Trump is about to go back in office, and they see all the Stephanics and all these people that he's putting in these 100% Israel folks. They see all these people coming in. Now they trying to go at Biden like, oh, you got to do something real. You got to do something right now before Trump get in office. Oh, you got to do something right now before Trump get in office, because they know that Trump ain't about to listen to no Palestinians. He ain't about to listen to none of that shit. He is about to give Israel whatever the hell they want.
So did Biden.
Huh?
So did this administration.
No, he didn't.
This administration is pro.
No, he didn't. No,
Kamala
he didn't.
Harris said, "I would do everything to support Israel."
Did she not say that she was going for a ceasefire? Did she not say
no? I'll tell you what she did. Hot tub.
You can't
Hot tub. Let me have a piece of this.
Hold on.
Let me have a piece of this.
You can't let me do anything because I'm gonna do it anyway. So when I say yeah. Because what I'm saying is
all right. We're gonna give you 30 seconds.
No, what Kamala tried to do,
and then we're gonna split it around.
Kamala tried to split the baby. She tried to split the
Freedom
baby.
Warrior. All right, Freedom Warrior. Freedom Warrior. We're gonna give you 30 seconds in a minute. Let's get Roadblock his 30 seconds, and then you get your 30, and then Hot Tub.
Well,
I know all three of you try. Roadblock. All three of you trying to get your point in there. So go ahead, Roadblock.
Who point first?
Roadblock.
You can't.
Okay.
When you're dealing with a situation like Israel and Palestine, you cannot go in there and say you can't split the baby. That's because that's exactly what you're doing. You got to ask for a two-state solution. She's called for a two-state solution. Trump has not called for a two-state solution. You can snicker, right. You can look all you want to, but
10 more seconds.
That is not their land. That is not their land. They don't belong there. They were put there. They had two places. They had three places to go. They had Israel,
10 more seconds.
Portugal, or they had Chile. They could have gone to Argentina. They could have gone anywhere. They chose that land because they're from the Caucasus Mountains. They're from the
I appreciate that. Okay, Roadblock. Thank you. Thank you, Roadblock. All right.
Biblically, the land belongs to Israel.
They're not biblical Jews.
You got 30 seconds. You got Roadblock. Give me 30.
Calm down. All right, now, I'm not gonna go back to a biblical reference. So I'll say this. He left.
He had to go. I think he got to go to work.
Oh man, I want to. Oh well, forget it.
Go ahead,
you can put it out here. He's gonna listen. You can put it out here.
I was going to say that what Kamala was trying to do is she was trying to split the baby. She's trying to appease the Gazans and the Palestinians, and she's trying to appease Israel too at the same time. You can't serve two masters. Either you're on one side of the fight or you're on the other. You can't settle a fight trying to be. When Joe beating up Jim, you supporting Joe and you supporting Jim. That fight is going to go on. So you got to choose a side. Now, whose side are you on?
This is don't start me yet because I'm gonna say this. This is why I muted and took myself off the screen to give everybody their time. Now I'm gonna go. Yeah. So, Israel lobbyists give money to both sides. The Biden administration has funded this war, this massacre that is going on right now. This is damn near totally funded by the United States. So you have both parties are at fault at that because both parties support Israel overwhelmingly. So to say one is more, this one is bad because they support Israel, and this one, both of them do.
They both do.
And Democratic senators both support Israel. I'm a nationalist in the sense of I worry about American problem. I say Israel needs to fight that war, and that war needs to be funded by them, not us. We need to stay out of this. Now, Hamas has said that they willing to go into peace talks since Trump has been elected president. This is yet to play out, but everything that's being said that Trump gonna do this, Trump gonna do, we don't know what he gonna do.
Do you feel the same way about Ukraine? Do you feel the same way about Ukraine, that they should fight their own war?
Absolutely, fight your own
war. I agree with that.
Fight and fund your own war.
That's right.
The American people were not consulted. Congress was not wanted to be drawn into a war, because what we're doing, and I have a unique perspective on this because I spent so much time overseas in those areas. We tiptoeing with World War III with both of them.
You know what they call it? Mission creep. It's called mission creep.
They got shout out to Stone One too. Shout out to Stone One. Want to give him
easing us into a war. What happened to Roadblock, man? Where Roadblock at?
Block had to go to work.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think I heard him say he had to go to work.
Okay.
On the tail end.
So
yeah, but he got it. But he got his stuff in before he had to go. But
he did.
Yeah, you got a little Roadblock. Yeah, and I think you guys, man, y'all bringing it, man, and this is great, man, to get this back and forth. And hey, everybody don't have to agree, but we can have these conversations, and that's the beauty of all this, man. It's good that's coming from us like this, from all these brothers on here. Yeah.
Well, here's what I'd like to say. I sent you a video. It might be a little long, but you might just play a little bit of it about Trump's first 100 days, what he said he's going to do.
Okay. Well, y'all keep talking while I work on that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, Hot Tub, I agree with you. I don't think it's our war. It's their war. Let them fight it. Okay. And let the winner, let whoever win, whoever lose. That's the way it is.
Stone One. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. I'll be right back, Junior. Y'all keep rolling.
And don't be mistaken when I say I'm not an anti-war person. I am a war profiteer. I look forward to going overseas and working those high price contracted jobs. So, hold on, are we still here?
Yeah.
So
war tends to be as we say, the industrial military complex. It's all about it, man. That's when people make money off of war. They make money off of death. Okay.
I made a lot of money over
these companies, these contractors, BlackRock, all these people, man, they're making millions off of people's misery.
So
people dying, being killed. Look, my heart goes out to those people in Palestine. Trust me. I could hardly even sit here and imagine a bomb coming through my roof and my grandbabies are laying in bed sleep. I mean, just think of that. That's horrible.
I done been through it, so I know exactly what they're going through.
So
I don't take war lightly.
No. So my thing is, first of all, Trump is not a warmonger. Trump doesn't want war. Trump wants peace. But sometimes to get peace, you have to have the war to end some kind of how. If you can't get a peace agreement or a peace treaty, then somebody win the war and the other person surrender and let's move on. When we dropped those bombs on Japan, right? Fucking Japanese were like, oh, stop, full stop, that's it, this shit's over. Okay? Because they saw they couldn't win. But Japan has revived itself over decades since World War II, and now they are thriving. And the same thing can happen in Gaza. They can rebuild that whole nation. Because that's what we good at anyway. We good at nation building.
That's not our job in this scenario. So
what nation building?
No. This war in Gaza is less about what's biblically their land and what's biblically not. This war, let's be all the way honest. Benjamin Netanyahu was on his way to a prison cell before he declared war. He was facing death in his own country, and to get himself out of jail, he declared war on Palestine for an issue that was basically a police matter.
Yeah, but Palestine, but Hamas screwed that up because Hamas went in there on October 7th and kidnapped all those people, raped all those women, killed babies, and still holding hostages. They're the ones who started it.
That's a police matter. That's not a national security matter.
Well, not to us. To us, it's a police matter. To them, it's war. It's an act of war.
It's mighty convenient that was declared at the time. Let's take it all the way back. Israel funded Hamas creation. Israel funded that. That's not even speculation. That's been proven. They
funded Hamas.
They funded Hamas. Hamas got all their funding from the state of Israel.
I never knew that.
The bunkers where they were holding supposedly they were holding the hostages. Israel knew about those 5 years ago when they were
I never knew that. You telling me something I didn't know.
Yeah, this all has come out during the course of this war. The only reason that it was declared, even with them taking the hostages, this happens all the time in Israel. This is not a unique situation. This is how it get down.
Okay.
Hamas takes pot shots at Israel. Israel takes pot shots at Hamas. This has been going on since they established the state of Israel. So this is what's new, and what pushed it over the edge was Netanyahu was sitting there facing a prison cell, and to get himself out of a jam, he declared war. Now,
so you're saying this increased his popularity as a leader and took away.
It took he was very unpopular in Israel at the time. He's facing an opposition candidate that he was on pace to lose to. He was facing charges, so he had a.
So he felt that if he was a wartime president or wartime leader, that the people would be more sympathetic and not want to push him out.
And has it worked?
Okay, and it worked.
It worked. So I mean, I get this. I've seen this strategy play out, not just there, but in a lot of different places.
But let's talk about America's role. America's role in all this is under the Biden-Harris administration, was first of all they started out supporting Israel. Then when the Arabs, or let's say the Middle Easterners in this country, started protesting, then they said, "Oh, which way the wind blowing?" And so that's the way they went, because it was political for them. It's political for Biden. It's political for Harris. You can't get somebody in a war and support them by giving them armaments and money and turn around and tell them, well, you can't do this and you can't do that.
Bingo.
Okay.
Bingo. They play.
And the same thing they're doing in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Be giving Ukraine all these weapons. And when people talk about money going to Ukraine, it's not cash money, it's weapons. We giving them trillions of dollars in weaponry. Maybe a little bit of both, but at the same token, them bombs cost a lot of money. Them tanks cost money. All that shit costs a lot of money. And then you're going to tell them, okay, well, I'm going to give you this tank, but you can't shoot at this, or you can't fire at this person. You can't do that. Well, you know what? Don't give it to them if you don't want me to use it, because it's going to be use it or lose it. So now these people are stuck. So somebody's got to tell either them to say, hey, look, you keep fucking with Russia gonna drop a nuke on you. It's over. Now you can stand on here and be the hero all you want to, but you're gonna go from hero to zero, because you're dealing with a nuclear power. It's not going to be a little gameplay.
What they're trying to figure out now, and where it refers to Ukraine, is that without the U.S. intervention, they would have done exactly what happened under Obama's term when they took that other area in Ukraine under
Crimea.
Crimea, and he allowed
Yeah.
it to happen because he didn't want to get into what we're seeing now.
And I got your video ready too.
This is a no-win situation.
Okay.
It's a ratcheting up of tensions that is going to end up in nuclear war. Russia is trying to figure out how to do. They're already
Russia could end this thing tomorrow if they want to.
But
all they got to do is drop a couple of strategic nukes on Ukraine and shit's over.
That's what they're trying to figure out now. And that's where I was going with it. They're trying to figure out how to.
And it's over.
They call them tactical nukes.
Yeah, it's over.
In a certain area. The problem with nuclear weapons is that you have no way to predict which way the fallout is going to go, and that fallout.
Well, that's true.
Could they penetrate it well into Europe? Then you got a bigger problem. So once that fallout goes into Europe, that's going to bring in everybody in Europe into it.
Oh boy.
Walk tightrope in Ukraine.
That's why Trump is saying we need to sit down and we need to negotiate a peace treaty.
Yes.
Because it's not going to end well for either side.
Because you got, on the one hand, Russia is willing to, as we see, they're willing to bankrupt themselves. And no amount of, I know they're talking about they're going to bring in the BRICS to replace the dollar. That shit ain't going to work. Because that's based on confidence. In the countries that you have back in the BRICS network, even though it's a lot of them, there's not a lot of worldwide confidence in those countries. That's why you're currency. So what you're doing, basically escalating to a point to where neither side is going to be willing to back down. Biden wanted World War. Biden do want World War III. There's ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about that. If Trump's willing to ratchet down the tensions and make concessions, because you're gonna have to make concessions, Russia's gonna have to make concessions to save.
Well, the bottom line is, Hot Tub, the first person that played a new card, everybody gonna start playing.
Yeah, oh, most definitely. First nuke,
everybody gonna play the new card, and that's not good. That's not good for civilization and humanity at all. I know what nuclear weapons can do. I've sat through nuclear weapon briefings.
Same here.
It's horrific. It makes Hiroshima and Nagasaki look like 4th of July fireworks.
Well, I'll tell you what. And I want y'all.
So
yeah. Hey, I want y'all to do a short on that too, on the impact of a nuclear missile
conflict. Yeah.
Okay. But
look,
I got this video. Yeah, I'm gonna let it rip. All right.
Okay, let it run.
After he picks his team, Trump will get down to business. America is dealing with a host of problems. Chief among them are the economy and illegal immigration. Trump based his campaign on these issues. He promised to fix them, and that's why he was elected for a second term. So what will he tackle first? Where will he start? Let's go through what the first 100 days of his second term could look like, starting with day one.
We're going to turn it around. It's going to happen really fast, too. Two things. We're going to, first day, first hour, we can do many things in the first, but first, we're going to drill, baby, drill.
Drill, baby, drill was Trump's war cry throughout the election campaign. It was a solution to fix the economy, lower the energy prices, and bring drilling jobs back to the U.S. Trump says he will expedite drilling permits, clear any pending pipeline projects, and increase the sales of offshore drilling rights for oil and gas. It's a drastic departure from Joe Biden's green policies. But Trump is having none of that. His return means that a return to old-school fossil fuel exploitation in overdrive. And he says that he will enable all of this as soon as he takes office. Then comes the other big challenge, migration. Trump has day one plans for that too.
On November 5th, 2024, this will be Liberation Day in America. It's going to be Liberation. On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history.
Trump has a two-pronged approach to deal with the migration problem. First, getting rid of illegal immigrants who are already in the U.S. with a massive deportation drive. Trump says that he will round up all undocumented migrants and kick them out. Can he really do that? Well, it is possible because Trump has an ace up his sleeve.
I'll invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Did you know that? I had to go back that far. We couldn't find anything because modern day politicians, even sort of old time, nobody had the courage of these original people.
Trump had to go very far back, but he found a law that could allow him to deport people. America's Alien Enemies Act from 1798. Trump and his advisors have done their homework and they think that this law will help them execute their deportation plan on day one. So that's the first prong of his plan to deal with illegal immigration. The second is making Mexico a buffer.
But now we have a new president in Mexico. Supposed a very nice woman, they say. I haven't met her. And I'm going to inform her on day one or sooner that if they don't stop this onslaught of criminals and drugs coming into our country, I'm going to immediately impose a 25% tariff on everything they send in to the United States of America.
Trump plans to fortify America's southern border to stop new illegal immigrants from getting in. He plans to bring back his Remain in Mexico program, forcing asylum seekers to wait in Mexico while their applications get processed. But for that, the Mexican government must cooperate. And here's how he will ensure that. Tighten the economic screws and keep raising tariffs until Mexico gives in. Trump has promised to do all of this on just day one. It is an ambitious agenda, but his team says they're ready. They're preparing a set of executive orders, presidential decrees that he can sign on day one in office to get the ball rolling.
Y'all hear me?
After this, his plans will get executed the old-fashioned way, by Congress. Trump's Republican Party has already flipped the U.S. Senate. They may retain control of the House of Representatives too. We're waiting for those results. If that happens, they get the trifecta. Control of both houses of Congress plus the presidency. The Republican Party will control all these three arms of government. Then nothing can stop.
All right, there we go. I was just trying to see that should be enough. All right, so there we go. Hot Tub, you was making a comment behind the scenes. People wasn't able to hear us because the video was playing, but I did hear you.
I agree with him totally. I don't know. I'm not even familiar with that law that he brought up for it to be from that far back. But if it was never repealed, any law that's never been repealed can still be brought up and used as a law. And I agree. I do agree with that plan to use Mexico as a buffer zone, as well they should be, because Mexico, a lot of people tend to ignore the fact that as bad as we got it, Mexico got it just as bad, because these people are coming from further central south and Central America into Mexico and flooding into Mexico, exhausting their resources. So they're catching it like we catching it. So I agree. Use Mexico as a buffer zone. We have a lot of leverage to force them to do that. We have in the past, and not just under Trump. Even Obama used Mexico as a buffer during his administration. So it can work. I agree with that. I agree with his drilling policy. It's a lot.
But let me tell you what he really plans to do. Because the questions keep coming up. Well, how are you going to get all these people out of here? What he's going to do, and from what I was told, is outside of these major sanctuary cities, all these legal immigrants, he's going to set up detention centers.
Freedom Warrior.
Yeah.
You're breaking up.
Yo.
You was giving it good detail, but I want to make sure you deliver it where it's not broken.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Is it good, Hot Tub? Okay.
I think if you in one place,
can you hear me?
Hold on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're gonna let you get to your spot.
Okay, let me get to my spot. he's going to set up detention centers. And those detention centers are going to be outside of sanctuary cities. And then he's going to move them from there.
Like I said, I'm curious. I'm curious to see how this gonna play out. I do agree with him. I do agree with him getting it under control, because it is in fact an invasion. What's coming in this country is not women and children from war-torn countries, which was the purpose of our I'm having a brain fart. Our sanctuary laws. These are not war-torn country. They're coming from places where they just got bad economy.
Yeah, these people they're not fleeing persecution.
Yeah, they're not seeking asylum. That's the word
right.
I was searching for.
Right.
They're not asylum seekers. These are military, for the most part, military age men that are coming in. This is in fact an invasion.
It is.
Not an overabundance of young children and women coming into this country. If it was majority women and children coming in, I don't think the American public would have a problem with the immigration. But we see it for what it is. It's an invasion. So I can see how that law that he wants to implement, I can see how that would work, because what we're dealing with is in fact an invasion. I've been saying that since day one. Whenever they show.
Well, remember after World War II, people were coming to America after World War II, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, all that kind of stuff. They were coming from war-torn countries.
Yes.
A lot of these folks just saying, hey, you can get in America, man. Let's go. You know? And that's what we are faced with. And now we got millions upon millions of people here who just walked across the border. So they got to go.
Mm-hmm. And we're ignoring the
that's
fact
it. Plain and simple.
These men left their women and children in those supposed country that they claim was so war-torn. That's not how asylum works. They've
no, it doesn't work that way.
Of an asylum seek. They've stretched that definition till it's unrecognizable. Stay in your home.
Let's go back to the root of why they did it, though. Why was it done?
You want
why did they do that?
You want my
yeah.
Because the white population is steadily decreasing, and they're going to what was about to happen, because we're looking at a white population that's going into the minority status, is they were going to do for the Hispanic population that's coming in the same thing that they did for the Italians, for the Irish, and for every other immigrant group that came from Europe. They were going to get their honorary white status.
Okay. Well, let me tell you my opinion. Okay. My opinion is the Democrats did it because they want to win elections from now until Jesus comes.
I agree with that.
Okay. Because a lot of these people that are coming in, the Hispanics are taking heat for it, but there's not just Hispanics. There's Chinese. There's dudes coming from the Congo. They coming from all over the world. And they know that if Kamala Harris had won, they're here to stay. And the Democrats would make sure every one of them were registered to vote. And then the Republicans couldn't win an election from now to Jesus come home. Okay? And that's a part of it. If some of it was political.
A lot of it.
A lot of it.
I agree with
And you know what? And I'm going to tell you this too. And I want you to hear me out. Give me 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm concerned about the survival of the Black population in America. Our population numbers are down. People talking about a lot of other stuff going down. The Black population's going down. Because number one, they're trying to infiltrate the Black community and telling our women don't have babies. Argue and fight with your husband. You know, let your kids, if your boy wants to be a girl, let him be a girl. All this kind of stuff. And then abort your babies. because by telling the black community all that, we are dwindling. Now, I'm going to tell you what Richard Pryor said 30 years ago. And he was joking because he was a comedian. And sometimes people can't handle comedians, but comedians sometimes tell the truth about things, even though they do it in a comedic way. Richard Pryor said many years ago, they bring these immigrants into this country because they want some new niggas.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need us anymore. Now they still talk about the black voter and this and that, the black vote. But if they can get all these immigrants to register Democrat, they don't need us.
Now,
And that was the plan.
I'm gonna interject something because for the crux of your argument, I agree. I agree. The only thing that I disagree with you on is the fact that the census report came out, I think 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. The black population is not down, it's up. We actually ticked up. Our population numbers have not increased since the late 70s, early 80s. We've stood at 40 million, which mathematically is an impossibility. That a population stagnates to that point. That's mathematically impossible. This is the first census in a while that you've seen a growth in the black population. Juxtapose that to the Hispanic population. The Hispanic population has exploded, but not from natural birth. Their natural births are down. Their population is exploding from immigration. Our population has increased from natural birth. We have the only population out of all of America. We have the only population that grew straight from natural births.
How long is that going to last, though? With so many of these black people who are still beholden to the Democrats and the left wing ideologies now that are creeping in, that are saying, oh, don't have children, only have maybe one or two. Most black families had 9, 10, 11, 12 kids.
Now,
but where do they put the abortion clinics? They put the abortion clinics in the black community.
You're right on all points on that. But what you're not seeing is my generation and the subsequent generations behind us. There's a change in opinion as far as it comes to the Democratic Party. Going back to what you said about them wanting a new voter base, the reason, a big reason why, and this has been going on since the last years of the Clinton administration, is the black population has slowly taken themselves out of voting, or done move that you did, was going to the Republican Party. That's alarming sign. That's been alarming signs for the Democrat. They did have an uptick, a huge uptick during the Obama years because that was historic. But ever since then, black voter turnout has been lower and lower and lower to this point where Kamala Harris pulled out the lowest voter attendance for black people in like 30 years.
Amen. And I hope it triples.
And it will. And that's what I'm trying. That's kind of where I'm going with it. Is that we're less likely to be holding ourselves. Not all of us, but I'd say a critical mass of the black population. Now, Democrats still hold, I'd say 70 to 80% of the black population, but
True.
you have percent that's either saying no, I think I'm gonna explode the Republican Party, or the side that I fall into, the people that are saying what policies benefit me and my community.
Thank you. Black people have got to learn to vote their interests.
Yes, and I think that's the route that we're going as that boomer generation gets less and less and less. You're gonna hear, hey man, what's in it for me? And to the point where we're going because I think we're still going to, for the most part, vote as a block, but that block is going to start voting in its interest versus voting what's in the interest of the Democratic Party.
Uh-huh.
So that's the change that I'm seeing, especially with the youth. You still got some holdouts around my generation, the Gen X generation, but the millennials and Gen Z and Gen Alpha behind them saying it's time out for I'm just voting just for the sake of voting. My ancestors didn't die for me just to vote Democrat. They voted for me to get something for my vote. And as long as we as a people start moving in that direction, I think we're gonna be all right.
Well, that's good, and I'm hoping that it improves over the course of coming election cycles, because I'm just so tired of seeing black people vote Democrat just because they're living off of promises that are never delivered. Okay, and looking for handouts. We don't need to live that way. We did too much to help build this country, and
Right.
that's where a lot of people are upset. Even white people, some white people are upset that these immigrants can walk in here and get $1,500 credit cards, live in posh hotels in New York City. All right. Giving them mopeds to ride around on. And what have they done for the people who've been here? Us. We've been here.
And
we worked hard.
That's what you saw in this election was the groundswell that Trump got was less about people just wanting Trump back in there. But we understand that the way the country is going in the wrong direction. And
thank you.
At least, even if you don't support Trump, if you're not a Trump supporter, it was a hard sell for me. But at least I will admit, and most people will admit, that we know Trump is going to at least get them up out of here and start turning it back to an America, like you say, America first type policies in this country. And as long as
like you said, you're a nationalist, right? You said you're a nationalist. So you believe it's the concept, like the similar concept is you take care of home.
Take care of home first. And
take care of home first.
I will go into that further. I'm black first.
Yeah.
In everything I do. Just like I believe white people should be white first, Asian people first, and Hispanic people, vote your interests. I don't have an issue with you being pro your people. I'm pro my people. And make sure that, especially since we built this country, get our fair share out of America.
It's about time. And I'm hoping that we get there.
Hey,
well, Mr. 411, it's been an interesting experience, but I think I'm about to give up and give out right now. I'm getting a little sleepy.
Yeah, I think we done ran. We might
Hey, look, hey man, we got it on here because look, we can't
I want to get Brother Roadblock. I want to get Roadblock back on here, man.
Roadblock will be ready to set up whenever it needs to be set up. So hey, today, man, look, we got a lot of information on there right here now. We got a lot of data right here, so we got a lot of clips that's gonna come from this. We got a lot of segments to be broken down. So we got a lot that we can work with on here. So that's what I'm saying. I'm glad we took the time to do this. See, like we always said, I know Hot Tub drills this over and over and over again. But on this type of media, on our media, we can do things the way we want to do it, and things can be said the way it need to be said. And so, hey, that's what we did today, right? Everything's out there.
It's all good.
We didn't have people in the back in your ears trying to tell you what to say and all that. This is all came straight from you guys. And so that's what I really appreciate.
I got a lot more to say, and I know Hot Tub got a lot to say too. And even Hot Tub and I don't agree on everything, but that's all good.
Shout out to Roadblock, because I do respect him, even though I may not agree with Roadblock.
Yeah. Hey man.
And do give your take on there.
Yeah.
So, Roadblock, Ray, we love Roadblock, man. And
I'd like to talk to Roadblock some more. I really would. What is that at the bottom there? What does that say?
That's Roadblock. That's just say thank you, Roadblock. For being on, for joining in, jumping on the line. So we dropped the line out there, and then he scooped up the line, jumped in, and that's what we're working on. That would actually give credit where it's due. Live, Hot Tub, brought that to my attention. Hey man, it's a great technique right there. So we're gonna continue to do that. We're gonna continue to have an open line for people. So Freedom Warrior, if you know people that want to drop in, let them know. Let them know the link's gonna be out there so they can jump in and be live. You know what I'm saying?
All right, we'll do that. We'll do that.
All right.
I
So,
love you guys, man. Love you all. Y'all take
all
care.
right.
And let's get back together because we got a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah. Believe it or not,
Okay.
we already got some stuff in the works.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Well, everybody have a good night, and we'll see
All
you
right.
later. Thanks for
Okay. Turn
tuning
it
in.
back over to you.
All right, we out of here,
Thank y'all.
guys.
Okay. Bye.
Close it out.